Hey guys, welcome to another MapleStory 2 video, and this video is not really a guide, but it could still be something interesting for you to watch. Today, I'm going to be talking about which classes I plan to main or are currently maining, and then in the foreseeable future, I'll make a video on how to pick a class to main. The point of this video is mostly just to show you guys my reasoning behind choosing the classes I chose, so maybe it can help you pick your favorite class that way. But don't worry though, I'll still make a video to help you guys out on that more a little bit later. I'm not really able to make a top 5 classes video since apart from a few loose ends, all the classes in MS2 are relatively balanced with each other. Unlike MapleStory 1 where it was basically mostly about damage, MapleStory 2 goes back to the traditional MMORPG fashion where some classes fit a function that others can't, such as a tank, range DPS, melee DPS, support, and what have you. On the other hand, that makes it easy to choose a class to main because they have determined contributions to the game. I haven't played all the classes, but gathering from what I do know about the game, I know which classes appeal to me the most. Fortunately, MapleStory 2 will have far less classes than MapleStory 1, and that's mostly just because the game has just come out and it's going to start off small. We can only guess, time will tell if they release more, but I think the amount that they have for the initial release of 9 is appropriate. Let's see what we have here. Assassin, Thief, Heavy Gunner, Archer, Berserker, Knight, Priest, Wizard, and Runeblader. Striker and Soulbinder are probably going to be coming out next year, and it's not planned to release in GMS2 for quite a while, which means that we have 9 classes to choose from. Ideally, I want to start with only 2, and then maybe add on more. It's not hard to advance your characters in this game since leveling to level 60 is a pretty simple endeavor, all it asks of you is time. My first class that I chose was Assassin. Now I do know I somewhat bashed the class in my Assassin review video, but I don't think it's inherently bad, only I'm speaking in terms of its early game. But I really do enjoy this class quite a bit. I'm more of a melee person, and back in MapleStory 1 I mained a dual blade and I loved the class, but these in MS2 are kind of different. When I say melee class I mostly mean offense and pure damage based gameplay. Rogues in general are meant to be either sneaky and quick or fast and hard hitting, and I personally prefer the latter. See, I wanted to play Thieves at first because they have two-handed daggers, which is kind of like a dual blade, but they suck. Melee classes should be pretty tanky to compensate for the fact that they have to get up close to attack targets. But the issue is, Thieves have the defense stat of archers and mages, but they have to get in melee range to deal damage, and their damage is not even that great either. A Berserker can do literally everything Thief can but better. But I digress. My second option was Assassin. Now, gameplay wise, I like Assassins because we're a mid-range class, so we still have some distance between us and the target, but not a large amount, so we do still have to move around. Late game Assassins are probably one of the best DPS classes in the game, since we're the only ones who can get access to maximum critical hit rate aside from maybe Rangers and Sharp Eyes, but still not quite 100%. Because of this, Assassins have double scaling properties, meaning they gain damage not only from base damage, but also critical damage, so while we start off super weak early on, we scale like monsters close to the end game. I've always loved the high risk, high reward playstyle that rogue classes and by extension assassins bring. You have the potential to do lots of damage, but also the consequence of doing no damage. Assassins have to play very carefully, they have to thread their attacks in between dodging abilities so as not to get caught out and die. And that's just about it. The main reason that's appealing to me is because I like activity. Classes that don't stand in one place for a long time and spam one single skill indefinitely adds a depth to it. Even though bruises are my favorite type of playstyle, I still enjoy that assassins force you to be light on your feet, keep your APM high, and make you sweat. Runeblader is my second option, and depending on how I see the rest of the class to go, I may favor Runeblader as my overall primary main, although I think I'll stick to Assassin for bossing and stuff. Runebladers are basically no-guard, two-handed swordsmen where they focus purely on damage, neglecting relatively any defense barring maybe a tiny bit of damage reduction. So they're not traditional warriors, even though they are part of the warrior archetype. The sword is my favorite type of weapon. Everyone knows swords to be the staple generic weapon before guns became a thing, but since swords are such a basic weapon, there's so much more you can do with them. Magical swordsman. Not something unheard of, but definitely still a playstyle that I really enjoy, and it can be a novelty thing depending on how you do it. Runebladers imbue their blades with various elements to adjust their properties just like paladins in MapleStory 1, only cooler. To me, less skills with more depth is better than a lot of skills with no depth. I haven't fully maxed out every skill yet, and I don't know which element is the strongest so far, but I like all of them. They have their own unique properties, and I also want to say the animations are amazing. Runeblader is my ideal fantasy class to play, so it resonates with me thematically. I also should mention that Runeblader has the coolest weapon in the game, the two-handed swords. They're usually scimitars, sabers, double-hand weapons, and katanas. Currently, my Runeblader is using a Project Energy blade that looks like a futuristic katana, which is freaking amazing. I love the design. Also, I gotta say, UGC is pretty nice. The only drawback is that Runebladers face the similar issue of being a class with very little resistance and having to melee range to deal damage. Actually, not quite. We do have a few attacks that have some range in the few occasions we do need to keep our distance, but just not the main way you want to do your DPS. But we actually could be one of, if not the best way to clear in the game due to how our abilities string together. Overall though, what I love about this class is that they fit my bill of being magic swordsmen who sacrifice defense to gain better offense, but not being paper thin either. It looks like a boring class at first, but the versatility of augmenting your abilities with different elements is what made the class really fun, even if they're not as strong as other classes. But that wraps it up for my two classes that I do plan to play. I chose these two not necessarily for function or damage or performance, but also just because of personal attachment. Assassins, I know they're good, but I chose them because I love rogue classes, and I chose Runeblader because it's my favorite class thematically, and also the edge. Try not to consider the classes in a practical aspect. The game is not as competitive as MapleStory 1 or other MMOs. In fact, MapleStory 2 is one of the most casual MMOs I've ever seen. But don't worry, as I stated earlier, I'm going to make a video to help you guys find out which classes might strike a chord with you. Those of you who already did find your class of choice, tell me in the comments section below, and let me know what convinced you to pick that class so I can see what went on in your head when you did. But apart from that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.